So I always remembered this unit being very, very strong, but as you're going to see in the background, I literally only fire an NP every single turn with Archer Artoria over here to take down Kiara, and it's ridiculous. I lost track of how many NPs I was firing. And while yes, we do have the Magical Girl of Sapphire CE, we also only have one Castoria because I don't have my own Archer Artoria. I'm recording this the day before the banner goes live, and hopefully, you know, when I do my summons, I'm able to get her, but this servant is actually ridiculous. I forgot how good this servant was. She still does have the one problem that I think her damage could be a little bit better, and that's why I'm a little disappointed about the buff they gave her over on JP, but overall, this unit is really, really good. Like, I am very confident in telling people that if you want to summon for a very strong arts DPS servant, and you don't have someone like, say, Melusine, who her damage isn't too far off from, right? They're kind of just the same unit in different classes. Melusine does a little bit more damage, I believe, but I'm very confident in saying that this is a strong servant to go for, especially if you can snag like NP2, because NP2 to 3 is where I think you see a vast improvement in her damage, because there is no damage mods or anything on this servant. There's no real special bells or whistles. She just loops really, really well, and we're going to get into that into this video. But before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel for that daily FGO content, although I am on vacation right now and I have missed out on 2 uploads, but look, some life stuff was happening and I really couldn't upload on those days, so I'm sorry about that, but my excuse is vacation, alright? I couldn't help it. But on that note, let's start getting into her kit, starting off with her hits. And you wouldn't really think she's the arts looping goddess that she is when you look at her hits, because it's like, oh, okay, she's got like 0.59% NP gain. That's decent, but not super crazy. Her quick cards seem to be pretty good. I mean, they've got 4 hits a pop on each of them, and she has 8% starch, and maybe she can drop some stars, which technically she kind of can drop some stars, but you're really not going to be concerned about that. She's more of a looping servant and less of a critting servant. But then again, if you do produce some stars, say that you give your Castorias 20-30, or you're using her with, say, Lady Avalon, who's kind of basically just Arts Merlin but a little bit better, then she'll just naturally absorb all the stars, because as an archer, her natural star weight is really, really high. And they even gave her the 5-hit extra attack. I mean, her hits are all looking really good. Passives aren't anything super insane. I mean, debuff resistance at 20% is nice. She has a 1 in 5 chance to whiff any debuff, as long as the enemy's not buffing their own, you know, debuff chance. The 10% arts buff is really nice because it gives her a little bit of extra damage to those arts cards, and it's also increasing their NP gain. And you know what? Also, let's just toss 10% crit damage in there, so if she does snag a crit, it'll do a little bit of extra damage. But then we start moving into the skills, and this is when things start to get nuts. Now, I am going to show you guys the buffed version of her first skill instead of showing you the non-buff version, because it really doesn't make much of a difference, right? It was just little minor buffs for her, but basically over here on skill 1, she's going to give herself a 30% arts buff for 3 turns, and then she's going to increase the party's defense by 20% for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. That's what we have on NA. Over on JP for the anniversary, they also gave her a 30% battery and pierce evasion for 3 turns as well, which is more of a convenience thing. It can help her loop a little bit more against maybe, say, like berserker enemies or something where you might need a little bit of extra NP, so that can be kind of nice. And the pierce evasion is just a convenient thing that she has, right? Like, it's really cool, but it's not going to determine, like, oh, this unit is, like, meta-definingly broken at this point. It's just like, oh, cool, if you're going up against, like, Heracles, I guess, or you want her to fight Ku Alter, you know, she can get around their dodges, you know, or if you're like me and you were going through Lost Belt 6 and, you know, definitely not Ku Caster spammed his dodges every single turn, you can just kind of avoid all of that. It's just more of a convenience thing. Realistically, the battery can be nice. Let's say if you're, like, an absolute maniac and you, like, NP5 your Archer Artoria, right, and you want to use her for, like, 90++ nodes. You got her Grail to 100, you even gold photo, or maybe she'll just be really good to just take out random people, because, you know, you have the double Castoria buff, plus you have her own 30% battery now, and if you want to start her with like an append skill or a starting charge CE, you can quite easily just have her fire her NP immediately with just the 60% charismas, or you could just have her loop against some of those weird 90++ nodes where it's like 1/1/1 enemy. For some of those more odd ones, you could use her for that. Just little things that you can do now for the battery. It does help her out and kind of expands her usage a little bit, but I would have liked to see a little bit more damage, because looping is not exactly, as you're probably seeing in the background, her weak suit. Then we get over to the second skill. This is really just a 5k heal, which is really nice. especially because it's on a 4-turn cooldown, and it oddly synergizes really well with Castoria, because I have very, famously said that Castoria gives you a lot of survivability, but not a lot of sustainability. So the fact that you have your own massive heal is really nice, and dude, it costs 10% of your NP, but who cares? Like, if you get this servant to NP2 so you can start getting, like, over 100%, you're not going to care, because you're probably going to find yourself quite frequently hitting over 100% NP, because God forbid you find, like, a quick or an arts card after your NP, you're going to be well over 100%, especially if you've got double Castoria, and not this, one waiver that I'm having to bring that's pretending that he's a Castoria. Like, it'll be even more insane. Then finally, though, there's her third skill, because I don't really want to go on about the heal all the time, because it really doesn't matter that much. It's just nice to have. It's a little charisma that she's going to give herself, so she can kind of double buff herself with the nice arts buff that's realistically a 40% arts buff because of her passive, and then it's going to multiply into this 18% attack buff over here. That is kind of nice. And I guess for whatever reason, if you're bringing, like, Waver or Paracelsus, or Asclepius, just some guy into your art setup, they're gonna get a 38% crit star generation buff for 3 turns, because the Summer 1 servants all have these, like, weird male buffs that they gave to everybody, except if you're Tamamo. Apparently she did not give anybody buffs, but more or less gave them debuffs, if you know what I'm saying. But it's just a weird thing they did during year 1. It doesn't really matter all that much. I do hope that maybe they'll buff this skill. Maybe it'll allow her to, like, bomb some stars, give her a little bit more crit damage. Even, like, 30% would be really good, because she has the passive 10%, so that'd really be 40%, and you could do some pretty nice crits with that. But realistically, I like them to seem to do something like that. Give her a damage mod, or even just give her NP damage, because we all know that with Oberon floating around in the meta, that just anybody with NP damage gets a whole lot better, because, that boy just loves interacting with people with NP damage. But finally, there's her own NP. And this NP, I think, is aged really well, because a lot of older NPs either are really good, or they just don't do anything. But this one, I don't know who was smoking whatever they had at DWHQ during year 1, but they were like, yeah, let's just give a single target arts NP 10 hits on it. Why not? That's not going to cause her to refund NP like an absolute madman. But wait, is she going to be refunding enough NP? Okay, for her overcharge, let's go 20 to 40% NP refund. That's why you'll just see her always firing NPs every single turn. It's almost a little bit better than, like, Melusine stacking NP gain, because Melusine stacking NP gain is really nice if you have, like, over 100%, because then you can start getting more overcharge and you can really start getting that NP gain going, right? It's really good for stuff like that. But this is just a raw battery, right? Which might be preferable in some scenarios, right? Where, say the boss is, like, really destroying your NP gain. There are some bosses that'll be like, oh, you get, like, 1% NP whenever you click your arts card. So it's really good that you can just have a raw battery that'll just give you a guaranteed amount of NP that you can count on. But because you're going to be spamming this all over the place, she also has a 70% chance to reduce the enemy's NP gauge by 1, which is really insane, because you're firing constant NPs. As you'll see, Kiara never gets a chance to fire her own NP, because Artoria is just giving her the big suck the entire time, and she never gets a chance to fire her NP. The only way a boss is firing their NP against Archer Artoria is if they just can raw give themselves a max battery, like they charge the max and immediately fire it, because she's never going to let them fire that NP ever. I think another good solution would be to just buff the NP. Realistically, if you want to take that 70%, make it guaranteed, give her the buff damage scaling, I'm pretty sure that'll be it. I would be very, very satisfied with that. That would just make her a bit more solid. But if they really wanted to be super crazy with it, they do that, and then they just give her like 30% NP damage whenever she fires her NP, just procs first. That would be really insane. Even doing, say, an arts down that's like 20 to 30% that hopefully procs first, because that'd be a little bit more convenient for, say, farming nodes and such. But even then, for boss fights, it'd be really good that if you could, like, stack it, it was like 20% arts down that, like, lasted for 3 turns. That would be crazy. That would be absolutely nuts. I would love to see something like that. So, is this servant worth summoning for? Well, besides the fact that I am a huge Saberface simp, and I'm going to be summoning on this banner, I am also going on this banner because she's really good. She's a servant I've wanted to use for the longest time. I think the only place she really suffers is her actual damage, because you really can't do insane crits with her without, like, you know, Lady Avalon or some other crit support coming in and giving her stuff, because 10% crit damage is realistically just not enough. And at lower copies, her damage can look a little bad, especially if you're going in neutrally. Like, versus Sabers or Berserkers, she should still look pretty decent. Like, she'll be fine. She'll be able to get the job done. just not doing as much damage as like some of these other people will be. But she's just one of these servants that, kind of like Gilgamesh in a way, I say is kind of hard to buff, because they're these servants that if you give them just a little bit too much, they become really, really stupid broken overnight. I mean, look at someone like Raiko. Raiko's another servant that I've gone on record saying that I was like, man, if they just give her like one decent buff, she's gonna go from being like pretty much never used to going to like everybody's, you gotta get this servant because they're really insane. And that's what they did. They gave her a crazy buff. They were like, we fixed your damage and we gave you a battery, right? Which the battery thing they gave to Artoria over here gave her a couple more avenues for farming and stuff, but that's not really what she needed. But I'd also like to hear in the comments down below what you guys would give to Archer Artoria if you were, like, say, working at Lysangle and you could give her a buff that's within reason. Don't be like, oh yeah, we're gonna give her like 100% battery, 100% NP damage, a billion% arts buff. Like, not all that, all right? Let's be a little bit reasonable, because I think the ones that I presented are like nice things they could give her that would make her feel a little bit better to use. Let me know all that in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe. Hopefully the next video I put out will be like, yeah, we just really just went in there, got Summer Artoria, and we just cleaned house, and it's not going to be me just crying for 10 minutes or something. Hopefully the summons go well, but you'll have to stay tuned for that one. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace away, guys.